All right, all you devils out there, happy Friday. Here we are, the 7th of May, a little afternoon for me here, so this is kind of an interesting time to be recording this video. So we are absolutely at an important level here for Bitcoin as we sit here kind of turtle heading this range here. So this probably be a short update here because there's really not been a huge amount of change. Oh, you know, we can look at all of this and just say we're kind of stuck in this consolidation zone, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But as we are just starting to poke our head out here, we're kind of at an interesting technical level. I don't think we need to go over the longer term stuff. I've hit that the last couple of weeks. So we know on the weekly log we've got the MACD is still bearish. But as we sit here now, the Elliott count here is potentially here going to give us some clarity on this somewhat unconventional cut. The idea, just for some quick review here for maybe those of you that have missed the last couple of weeks, the possibility that we went through from this 4 here, we went into an impulsive 1, and we've had this rather unusual WXY into the B to come down here and give us a potential 2. Now, if we're going to go, well, clearly we need an impulse to come out of here, and we've had kind of a funky start to the 1 wave. But if you just look, and we just kind of do some basic TA here and say, all right, well, if I've got the 1, 2, all right, so here would be a good candidate. If I'm going to get a true third, well, now we're blowing through the old highs, right? So all of the ingredients are there. I would propose, excuse me, and here's where the Elliott can be helpful. Well, if we're going to hold, so first let's just kind of review what the algorithm has done here. So of course, right, first thing's always what does algo do last, right? So swing low, we come down to the 50, we get a target here. Now, it continues. Let's see, I should probably just include this one right here. So then we get a golden zone. Now that target, it's a little shy of that target, right? And then we come down, we break here. So that was part of the concern when this started, that perhaps we still could have it. We had gone into a diagonal here to finish, right? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would have been the 5. And this has, the makings of what could be an A, potentially B, C. So the downside is still very much there in potential. Now, if we double top up here in this level, we can't get legs beyond this. That's not an unreasonable thought to think that we come back down here and test some of this structure here. I think we drew it up like this, right? So really anything in the under 42-ish would be of interest if that's offered. Well, as we sit here now looking at this, we kind of dial in a little bit on what the algo has done last. Well, there's some interesting things. So this, of course, would be of interest relative to the idea that if we're going to pull with our Elliott hats on, if this is our 1, well, here's the 50 that gives us the potential A, right? So here's the one that hits. Well, if recognizing that, right, just as I often will tell you guys, algorithm doesn't care about an Elliott count. That's us trying to decipher the movement here. If I go from dominant low to dominant high, all right, I've come 50 to the tick. To the tick. So we know there's an algorithm participating that's got a target up here. Now look where we just drew the target. Right, if you'll recall, right, we just looked at this, right? So if this is my 1 and this is my 2 here, well, look at this nice little confluence we get. So here's the algo target, right, in sync with a potential wave 3 target, which would give us this as a target up here. Oh, let's call it 72, just for round numbers, 72 and change. So if we're going to get that, right, this should come. It should be happening. I wouldn't want this to sit here for too long, right? If it's going to happen, it should happen relatively quickly because we can just see here the resistance that's there. Now, in addition to that, of course, right, there's always going to be the algorithm on the other side. So if I go, well, we can probably go to an hourly here. Just a reminder, right? It's always there on the other side. Well, from the top, get right on that, right to my potential pivot low here. Interestingly, we've got a very slight break here. If I'm right on that pivot, let's make sure I'm right on it. This one may be off a touch. Got to get right on it. Okay, so here's 50 to the tick. Now we can dig an impulse out of it. It's just not pretty. It's not a typical impulse, but you can dig 5 out of it. Oh, well, you can kind of see it, right? So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could count it. But this would be advantage bulls. Now, we've had another, just a very, you can barely see it, right? Just a very slight little break here, but we're not getting a lot of traction above this. So you can see the battle that's being waged here. As bears do not want to see that break. They do not want to see a significant push up here and then ideally, right, potential retest. So this, you've got to give advantage to the bulls here, right, off of those 2 breaks. Now, again, this is a very slight break, and so it doesn't mean we couldn't roll over here. But if we start to get some traction out of this, then I think this count starts to solidify a bit more. So let's just review it. I think I've got better detail over here. Okay, so if we dig into this count, and again, the Elliott is actually, it's not necessary here, but I think it does help us in terms of the potential roadmap for what's next. But you could just be working off of all of these swings, right? They're all every pivot here is technical. So coming off of our swing here, it does look like you've got the ingredients here. We get this funky little, you've got to squish it. Oh, there's a little overlap in the 4, but it looks like you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1A. This, oh shit, there's probably a couple of different ways you could count this. You could probably do 4, 5 here, but it almost doesn't matter, right? And I don't think it's the same on every exchange. I think this is an unusually high wick here on Bitstamp, but nonetheless, right, again, I don't know that it matters, right? So we can go A, B, expand the B, we come down for the C. So why do I say it doesn't matter? Because what would matter to most is, do we have a technical pivot here? All right, so if I go to that pivot low, pardon me, well, let's use this. Let's use the proposed 1. If this is going to hold as the B, well, we're coming down to the 38. All right, so not what where you'd be looking for the 2, of course, we'd be looking more typically between the 50 and the 618, but I get a pivot nonetheless. I do get a nice little ABC into the, well, shit, how would you do that? Oh, you'd have to go 1, oh man, that's a little tricky. Do we have to do a WXY? We might have to. Might have to do it this way. WXY, because this doesn't really come in clean as a 5. If I go here, it's not much better. So I think we would likely have to do it this way. I'm on a 2-hour here, so we can. Again, I don't know how much it matters at this point, but there's 1 WXY into the 2. Yeah, I think just looking at it, the structure here, this little 3. I don't want to force fit a 5 into that, so I just revert to the WXY to make that clean. So you'd have to dig out a little bit of a 3 here. Then up we go. There's the impulsive 3. Now note here though, the extension's in the 1, 2, right? So remember, of course, 3 doesn't have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. So clearly 5 is shorter than 3. The extension's in the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us a potential 1 up here where we had, right, here's that little, oh, where did I leave it? Right, here's the subtle little break here of the well, not so subtle, right? We've got multiple wicks that are getting beyond that 65. So, but from that, then we get the retrace. So let's just focus in there a little bit. Okay, if indeed this count's going to hold and we complete the larger degree 1 here and we go A, B, C into the 2. Well, here we start to get a little more technical. Now, again, note we go from 50, and I get that pivot right here, we're yet again. So this is 50 to the tick. Up we go. That's 50 within a couple of ticks. So we have both of these pivots. Well, this was the 38. This is a 50. This is a 50. So no surprise here. We're moving technically. Come back here. Let's get this back on. So now coming up here, I can get 5 into that 1. So if this is going to hold as the 2, well, I'm looking for 5 to come off of it. I got a clean 5. Pull it up again. Get right to that pivot. Well, we're right where you'd look for it, between the 50 and the 618. I'd like to come back here to test this little bit of structure here. Coming out of a proposed 2, so you've got an A, B, C to give you the 2 into the double bottom there. Here's first target, right? So we know there's an algorithm participating here, just like there's an algorithm participating here, just like there's an algorithm participating here. So those all have targets up above. right? Here's the smaller degree target here. Then here's second level. Second target on the larger degree, right? You can always look to the left, right? So here that target is here. And then here's our wave 3 target up here. So if this is going to go 1, 2, 3, you can see the potential roadmap here, 3, 4, 5 to get us up there. Now you'll notice I have a channel on this. Just push back around here. Let's clean this up a little bit. I have a channel on this for 2 reasons. I'm going to go ahead and take that one off. We'll see, right, if that's going to get legs. Well, part of the reason I have a channel on this is because the corner pocket here is already realized, right? So if I go up to that pivot, get right there, well, all right, so you can see it again. I remind you every time I can, best odds in trading, as long as that pivot holds, 80% we get there. Well, we get there on the 3, and then we get a revisit here on the pivot here where we double top, right? So again, tapping the median line as we get the retrace. Now, what do? We fall right back between the 50 and the 618. We've got high volume here, so you can kind of look at that and go, all right, well, that makes sense. All right, I can understand why we'd come back and fall to this prior structure. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of pull it across and say, okay, well, I can understand why the POC here is relative to my visible range. I can understand why that's the POC, right? A lot of buying and selling, a lot of agreement between traders here on value, so we get transactions here up, moving away from that. Now, here's where bears are defending, right? They do not want to see that get legs above that. All right, so you know there's real defense. So we're pushing, we can't get through. Pushing, here's the median line, reaction. Now, if we can get back through this, if we can get across this high, then that 3 is going to start to get traction because, as we know, we will have lost the algo from the top. Right, we have lost that sell side resistance, right? But it's not, it's not break out the bullhorns yet until we got to get through that. Right now, if we kick here and we get up to this 3, well, now, all right, I think you can start to feel a little bit better about the idea that while it's an unusual retrace into a 2, if this is going to go for a 3, we're eliminating some of that. Over here, some of the possibility. Let me pull this back here. That we might be doing something like this, right? So we might be coming A, B, right? Knowing a B can go to the 786. We can go up to some of these levels. We wouldn't invalidate the count. And I'm sure there are traders here that are looking at that as a 3 and thinking, oh, okay, 1, maybe a 2, right? We haven't overlapped this pivot yet, but if we do, that'd be worth putting an alert on. If and when we do, right? My view is it's just a matter of when. We may not get it on this push. We may not. Right? So you could see a path for this to come down deeper. Maybe we go to the golden zone. You could see it. If this is going to go A and we're going to hold here and this, okay, maybe, right? And then we're going to go deeper. It's all possible. If we stall down here, it still would create the possibility that we'd have an A, right, with a big B, and we'd come down for the C. Again, a deeper 2. So it wouldn't kill the idea that we're going up for the 3. But it would just mean we tested here and failed, right? So we'd have identified clearly where the resistance is, right? We can just look at this. Bears do not want to let it get above that. So there's no surprise here that there's going to be defense here. So I'd be watching this. Here, I'm going to do it right now. I'm just going to add an alert on that ray, right? When we get through that, I want to be notified because then what we're looking for is the continuation. But if you look at it here, if this is going to hold as my 2, and that's, I don't love it. If we're going to get this, right now the whole thing starts to really solidify and you go, okay, right, so 2's in. I'm not ready to push it there yet. I want to see what happens here. But right now, if you're just counting it right now, looking at, okay, this snapshot in time, there's almost no other way to count it. You'd have to go 1, 2, and looking for 3, 4, 5 to come out of there. Adding to that we have a technical pivot here, right? We just drew it up, right? If that's going to hold, right, between the 50 and the 618. So this has got to go here. We're not there yet, right? Don't make assumptions. It's dangerous to do this, right? I run into this with my day traders, right? Over in the futures market. You don't. We were talking about this at length yesterday. You can't put a buy stop 1 tick beyond the 65. Even though that gives the advantage to the bulls, what you really have to see here is a close above, and then ideally what you'd want is a retrace because all the stops were there. So bulls will defend here, right? That's often what creates the retrace, right? The ones that get the break, they take profit, we come down. It's really a test of supply, Right? Are there still sellers looking to pile on here, or can we now carry on with the series of higher highs and higher lows? Right now, we don't have a higher high, so you can't assume, oh, it's one tick beyond. Trust me, I've tried it. There's very little I haven't tested or tried. I've tested this. Can I put a tick one beyond the 65 on the assumption here that the algos will flip? Well, remember, we could go up here. So the algo is if indeed they've been stopped out, right? Which, the premise being that if they're stopped out, right, if it goes up again, the next time that they'd be on the long side is on the next retrace, right? So you can kind of see that taking shape. Oh, if it goes up here, well, where might that 50 come in? Well, now I've got my 50 in my golden zone right here. So if we're going to come up to something like this, where you could see, right, okay, I'm making a good run here. I'm coming into all of this prior resistance up here. I've got some high volume here. If I get up here, well, now can I get all the way to that 3? Well, if it doesn't go straight, which often it won't, it's going to give you an opportunity. If it doesn't go straight, there'll be a retrace there where you're going to look for that 50, that golden zone. Again, interestingly, much of these have been all at 50s. We're not getting the depth that we so typically get with Bitcoin, which is just a magnet to the golden zone. Interesting, we've had a series of 50s. This is a 38, this is a 50, this is a 50, this is a 50. So with the little break here, this is to be watched closely for bulls. Right? I guarantee bears are watching it closely. So you could still, even here, even if we went to a 15-minute, since this is a 50, well, so we just drew it up here, you've got a corner pocket. Right? You've got that, that's just tagged. So if I straighten that out. All right, so we've just tagged it. Right, just as we just tagged it here, right? So we hit this one, backed off from the median line. Now we hit here. Are we going to back off from the median line again? Well, what would you tee up next, right? If that's going to happen, if we back off here, where would you be looking to buy? Right, assuming you're a bull, right? It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know, what am I at? I don't know how many thousands of videos, right? But I'm essentially showing you the same thing in every video. Exactly the same, right? Mixing some of the Elliott complexity, right, adds a little spice to it. But ultimately, it's what did this algorithm do last? What will it do next? Now, knowing what it will do, and let me be specific there. Knowing that it's going to buy here does not mean that it must go up here. It certainly could break, right? Because there's always an algorithm off of every pivot, right? Same algorithm, always there, every pivot. Doesn't matter what asset, what time frame, doesn't matter. Always there, right? You can count on it being there. What you can't count on is that it's going to hold. Right, because if that breaks, guess what happens next time, right? Up now they get there, right? So it's just a constant series of internal, external retracements. That's all the market ever does. Swing, retrace, right? Is it going to be internal or external? It's as simple as that, really. Really, if you want to simply, you throw all the Elliott out, you throw everything out. What did the algorithm do last? Where is it likely to respond next? Right, now we add in a little geometry here for confluence, but at the end of the day, the number one, right? So I always try and remind members and subs here, number one is not the Elliott count. Number one is what did this algorithm do last? Number two, where's the geometry? Can we identify geometry that's likely to have some influence or is having influence in the market? Well, I'm pretty sure we just went through, I don't know, 4 or 5 different examples of it. So here's, we've just tagged the median line. So that's why I'm saying this is a critical pivot here. So not only are we just getting a little turtle head past the golden zone, we've just tagged the median line. So that is, there's no reason to assume anything either way, right? So we could blast off, right, and carry on with the 3, but we have all of the ingredients here for that to pause. Not to mention, just we know bears are going to defend here, for this to start a little 3 to come back down. Okay, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, then I'm looking for my 3 to come out of that. So if this is going to go, well, look at it. What would we have, right? So it all started with a larger 2. So if it's 1, 2, if this is going to hold, because this is not the prettiest looking retracement relative to length of time, sure, you could sure squeeze a 5 in there. But right now, as it sits, we'd have to do it this way. We'd be doing it ABC, right? And of course, could turn into a WXY. Easily, WX. Well, that goes too much further. Well, you could go ABC and still have the Y come in. So you can't eliminate those possibilities. But what we're trying, the purpose, right, of the Elliott wave, in conjunction with everything we're doing here, is to eliminate some of those possibilities and then to offer the more probable path of the market. So if indeed this holds, and that's not the prettiest impulse, as I said earlier. If this holds as a 1-2 and this holds as a 1-2, well, we know what the target is for the next move. And so we start to eliminate possibilities. That's the whole point of it. If it's not this, then it must be that. If it's not that, then it's likely this. That's all we're trying to do. Right? That's the purpose of the Elliott wave. It's not a crystal ball. It's ultimately to eliminate probabilities. Right now, as we sit here, what's the most probable path of the market? I don't know that we have any particular advantage here, other than the only advantage we have is that bulls have the advantage since we've broken the 65 here. But we sure do need to get out of here, right? Because that is just the kind of thing that you might come back to, 2 weeks from now, and I'd be doing a video and say, okay, well, you guys will remember this. We tagged that median line at the 65. We didn't follow through. There were no legs there to carry it up. So what do? Down we retrace. So right now I have an so I've had a swing, I've had a retrace that's technical, and I've got an external, right? So we've gone external from this pivot, but not by a lot. We got one wick through it and one more little tap here, one more to lean into the bulls because we just broke it by a couple of ticks. But I would not be surprised. And of course, right? We always do these on Fridays. You go into the weekend. It's a wild card, right? You just don't know. I mean, amazingly, this probably shouldn't surprise me, but most of crypto is going to be focused on what Elon Musk is going to say on Saturday Night Live, and how that's going to affect either Bitcoin or Doge. How is that relevant, right? Other than just the mania of traders. Right? I don't begrudge any trader that's making money in Doge. Right? Certainly, they're minting millionaires over there. It's not a market that I would chase. But that's what crypto is focused on this weekend. What is Elon Musk going to say on Saturday Night Live? It's hard to see how that would have any long-term relevance, but it might have some relevance to the Doge traders that might get a pop out of that, or it'll crater off if he doesn't say what they're waiting or hoping that he's going to say. It's a little silly, but again, I mean, if you're doing well in Dogecoin, God bless you, man, good for you. But I would not. It's just me. I would not want to be tied into a trade where the outcome was dependent upon what anyone was going to say on television. Well, maybe not anyone. What a celebrity, I mean, he is what is he now, the richest man in the world? What he's going to say about Dogecoin. Now, if it was what he was going to say about Bitcoin, well, I might perk up a little bit more there. But if we're all waiting to see what he's going to say about Dogecoin, I don't know what that says about the broader crypto market. I'm not sure that says puts crypto in the best light. Just my opinion, right? Don't if you're a Doge bull and you're making money there, I'm happy for you. But I digress, right? So here I'm running 23 minutes. Okay, so there's really not, well, okay, so things that we can agree on. This would be a terrible place to buy. I think we could probably agree on that, even with the little break. I preach this as often as I can. Yes, you're going to get it sometimes, but buying breakouts is what retail does. Well, here. What happened the last time? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really getting blasted with allergies. Okay, so there's the breakout. How'd that trade work out? Oh, is it another breakout? Maybe we'll front run it. Maybe we'll get in. We'll get in a little bit early. We'll go a little bit early. How'd that trade work out? Oh, this will be the one. Well, I lost a shitload of money on that one. I lost a shitload of money on that one, but this one's going to go. Well, here's the perversion of the market, right? Which maybe that's the wrong word, right? But it's just a phenomenon of the market. If you don't take this one because you got burned 2 in a row, guaranteed that's the one that goes. All right, so now you're back. So having said that, does that mean you take this one? No. You never buy breakouts. Guys, I'm almost, what am I, 29 years of doing this. There is not a breakout scenario I haven't tested. It does not make money over time. Now, maybe in equity markets, right, you could make a case for it. But in futures or crypto, it's a sucker's play. Look at the S&P and the YM today. If you bring up those charts and look what happened at the highs today. How quickly those were rejected. It's just a classic sucker play, right? They lure in the breakout. Oh, shit, you can see it right here, right? They lure in the breakout traders. Oh, we're going to the moon, and then they just crush them. It's such a sucker play. Don't do that to yourself. Don't wait 20, 30 years of experience losing money doing that. Just trust me on this. Oh shit! I mean, maybe you have to learn it the hard way. I did. I had to learn it the hard way. I was stubborn. Oh fuck! I know where that's going. I caution you. There are times it will go right. So don't send me your 25 examples of when it went. It's over time. You will find that to be a poor choice for entry into the market. Now, what you want, so you look here and you go, okay, well, if it retraced, now when we're coming up here, does that mean I get out? Well, if I'm long, well, if I got that much profit into a trade, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm now exiting just because I'm at a top. But I sure would be more cautious about money management, recognizing that that's a very real threat. I'd tighten up my stops. So that if that does happen for the for the fourth time, that I'm not giving back all of my profit. I mean, even if you put your stop here, you're going to give back half of it. Are you okay with that? You got to make that decision. So this level here is really going to be interesting. From 58, what's the top of it here, to 59, we got to get into the 60s for this to really, and ultimately what you want here is for this to get up and then get tested from above, right, as we said, right? So that might be, that could be the 1, 2 of 3. You'd want to see this really carry on. It looks like there's a 5 in there, actually. So if we look, what am I on, a 15-minute? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just the Elliott count alone. Again, one more example where, okay, could the Elliott be helpful here? Well, I got 5 that's completed. It's a clear impulse. A little shaky in the 3. Just out of curiosity, how do we look on the 2? It's 38, to and through target. What are we expecting after a completed 5, right? On the assumption, if that's going to hold as the pivot at the median line, what are we looking for? It kind of looks like it's already started. Right, we'd be looking for an A, a B, and a C to come down here and then put the whole thing together from the low. Where would we want to see that? So what else is there? Well, look, this is what I would be looking at. All right, so I know that's my buy zone here. I've got prior structure right here. I've got, relative to my visible range here, I know I've got a high volume node. So if I come A, B, C, I'm a buyer here. Reasonable risk reward. I mean, look what you could do for the risk reward. Well, let's do it this way. All right, buyer here. We could use that as a target. There's 4 to 1. Right, on the assumption that we're not going to go up and get the 3. Now we get the 3, it's 8 to 1. 1, 2. Now what else would be there? Again, I don't have this, right? So this is, we're just projecting. Possible roadmap. Well, if I come down there, I'm going to have another corner. If I go to the 618, to the golden zone, right, it's actually a little bit better. It gets higher. So this, let's put the whole thing back together. I come off that corner, and I come in. Oh, look at that draw right into the golden zone. I'm going to come right down here where I've got very low risk. I'd even, if I was putting that trade together, I'd look at that pivot as a place to exit. I'd want to be, well, so it looks like it's right about 707. ABC down here, if I get a golden corner, well, you know what I'm going to do. All right, if I see a golden corner in Bitcoin, I don't even hesitate, right? Nor should you. right? The risk doesn't mean it's a guaranteed winner, but the risk reward is so good. That's a trade you don't want to miss that trade. Well, if you're a member, right? I'm assuming you won't miss that. If you're a YouTube sub, that's the point of mapping it out. Okay, where's the next really choice place for me to be a buyer? If. So you got to watch that stuff. So right now it's just, okay, here I can see a roadmap here to see how this could play. I don't have it yet, but I'm very acutely aware of the fact that I've just tagged the median line after completing a 5 at this resistance zone that bears are going to be defending. So if we come down here again, heads up. All right, guys, that went longer than I thought it would. All right, so I think until this count is invalidated, this remains my primary. With all the with all the technical pivots here, I think there's no reason to fight this count. Now, bears, I got you, man. I know you want to buy it much lower here. I understand that, right? I know you're long-term bulls, but you don't want to be a buyer up here. Again, I don't want to be a buyer right here. Now, again, if it breaks, I'm going to let it go. If it breaks, I'm going to let that go, and then I'm going to wait for the 4, right, to get in. So you don't anticipate or expect that you're going to catch every swing in the market, right? Here's another 5, right into that 1. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, 5s and 3s. That was Elliott's genius. Okay, there we go. I'll wrap it there, guys. Have a good weekend. Oh, let's see. Live streams are coming. Now, when I say that, we're going to mix it in, right? So there are a few comments. Oh, God, please don't do the live streams. I agree with you. Live streams replay. Oh, my God. I'd rather carve my eyeballs out with a rusty spoon. But if you're watching and you want to participate live, it gives us a chance to interact with our YouTube subs, and we of course we interact with our members. So don't feel like we're going to just inundate you with a bunch of live stream videos. It's there if you want to participate. If you wanted to watch, well, maybe you learned something. But it's not designed to be replacing the videos that we post up for our YouTube subs, who we appreciate. So just know that we're not changing format. We're just kind of mixing things up a little bit and trying to get a little more interactive with our subs. Okay, there you go, guys. Have a good weekend. Members, I'll be back on Monday, and we'll take a look at the alts that you've got. Okay, guys, have a good one.